All right. Excuse me. All right, Joe. Thank you for coming on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, when I look at your background, you've done a lot of different things. Revenue growth, business scaling, guess a lot of consulting, some entrepreneurship. Would that sum it up if I were to just sort of condense it?
Yeah, that's a great 27-year summarization there. Great job.
So I must imagine, signs of entrepreneurship or liking business showed up early in life.
It did, and then it didn't, if I'm honest with you. So I spent really almost the first decade of my career in kind of your traditional corporate world. But had the itch and always yearned to want to be an entrepreneur, just kind of didn't know how to go about it, to be honest with you. I had a business partner that gave me that opportunity to start off with. So we were able to launch a company and scale it from zero to we had 12 brick and mortar retail locations, 10 mobile vans that were performing electronics repair inside of the Dallas Fort Worth, Texas area. And ultimately, we were approached by a franchisor to acquire that company as they wanted to make it kind of their company footprint and what they could replicate. So had no anticipation of selling that company when we started. I thought that was going to be like the forever thing, you know. But ultimately, it taught me a lot of lessons, things that I wish I would have knew had I anticipated I might sell one day. I would have done a lot of stuff different, and that's kind of given me the trajectory to start a couple other businesses, exit those as well. Worked inside of private equity, and now to your point, I consult and help clients do things exactly the way that I would have done them if I could go backwards in time, evaluate their companies, tell them where their gaps are that either will allow them for optimization or prepare them to sell if that's what they want to do.
Sure. Go back in the time machine for that first company that you've with the mobile vans. What would you have done differently?
So had I anticipated that we might sell it one day, there's multiple things that I would have done differently. But first and foremost, I would have systemized a lot of things much, much, much sooner. Not anticipating that I was going to at some point exit that company, I really put myself as truthfully the bottleneck. I was the person that did all the hiring. I created the training platform. I did all of the performance management of the employees, all the HR, all the marketing, all that kind of stuff. So I was quite literally the bottleneck. And truthfully, that costed us at the time of the exit because they knew they had to replicate me, and that wasn't possible for someone coming from the outside that didn't understand the company and build it from the ground up like I did. So there was a steep discount that the buyer paid or lacked of paid really as a result of that. So systemizing things, making it where I was not the bottleneck. I was something and someone that could step out of the business and the business would not only continue, but it would flourish in my absence. And that would be the first and foremost thing that I would leverage and do.
Yeah, I mean, systemization, it's commonly said, and obviously it's better to systemize everything. But if you were to, prioritize or sequence of events, just because entrepreneurs have too many things to do already, like
Mhm.
what sort of prioritization or what sort of level of detail would you start when on the road to, sort of working yourself out of a job?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's one of the first steps that we take when we have one of our clients come to us from the Twin Flame Group. So there's not a right size fits all answer to that question. Everybody has a different company and they are engulfed into that company in slightly different variable ways. So one of the first exercises that we do is we have them take out either their iPad tablet or just a scratch pen and paper. And over the first week that we work together, everything that they do, and they're the only one that can do, they write it down. And a week later, we evaluate that list. And based upon the list, we then formulate what could potentially be replicated and given to someone else and either delegated or just completely and utterly removed. And ultimately, we then kind of prioritize those as well, force rank them. What is the most important thing to take off the plate? Either A, because it's just a time killer, B, because we already have someone within the company that could potentially take that over fairly easily, so there's no additional headcount. Or C, it's taking that founder, that owner away from being able to drive substantial growth, revenue, profitability, whatever it may be. So force rank those things once you have your list and then start at the top. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just got to start. It can be you literally recording yourself on Zoom or Loom or whatever it may be. You can leverage ChatGPT nowadays to be able to systemize and create SOPs or documentation for you, but you have to know what it is that you're going to document first and then go document it. Once you document it, delegate it, give it to somebody else, let them do it for a little while, provide them coaching and feedback so that they get to the level that you're currently at. And within a faster time frame than you really anticipate, you're going to be able to completely remove that off your plate and it's not going to hurt your business as a result.
Sure. Yeah, you mentioned sort of technology or uh, AI or different things. In terms of I guess your average business owner, what do you feel like, the level of competence or the benefit from AI? Like where's the biggest ROI that you see for your average business?
Yeah, for kind of just your normal run-of-the-mill company, not someone that has a significant tech stack or an IT company within a particular department, the biggest opportunity that I foresee is in sequencing of scripting, so through the sales process, kind of the customer journey, and being able to ensure that there's not fall off and you consistently hook your potential leads and ultimately convert them to customers or clients is something that very easily can be leveraged at zero or very little cost through apps such as ChatGPT or many others that are out there, and be able to create scripts that you create your own persona so it sounds like you and you can replicate you or your sales team and ultimately make sure that you are driving a level of conversion rate that is better than you are today with little to no effort. You just got to understand where is the gaps now and then leverage AI tools, many of which are free, to be able to close those gaps.
Yeah, give me an example. Is it just a matter of like, getting your top salesperson to talk into ChatGPT? Like what other ways, what are the steps to sort of leverage that so that the scripts and stuff like that work?
100%. So there's several different ways, and it really depends upon what does the sales cycle look like today in the business. Is that salesperson doing phone calls, Zoom calls, in person type sales to the customers, to the clients? If it's over the phone or Zoom, just record the thing, and you can leverage tools like Notebook LM, for example, which is through Google, and you can just upload the recording of that file. It'll give you a transcript of it. Copy and paste that into something such as ChatGPT and say, create a sales script for me on this. Give me the most common objections of this particular type of script. What is my objection overcome opportunities for those? And now create sales scripts that are drip campaigns as a result. And you can do that within, probably 5 to 10 minutes once you have that recording. If it's an in-person type sale, it's a little bit different, but it's generally not super difficult if you're one-on-one, face-to-face with a potential client, and you say, "Hey, for training purposes, we're going to potentially be onboarding someone else. Is it okay if I just like have my phone recording us in the background so I can hear what questions you have and help my new hire to be able to train up?" Most people are like, "Sure, whatever." And now you have the exact same thing. So it's just putting in place something that will give you what current state is, and then leveraging AI to make it better.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, basically, yeah, current state, give me some feedback. What are the objections? I mean, obviously, yeah, AI doesn't have a problem being straight up with you, right? They're just going to give you what
Yeah,
they think. And also, I guess, yeah, you can iterate, I guess, right? Like, in terms of,
100%.
so that's interesting. Not just write something for you.
Yeah, exactly. And nowadays you can create your own persona and it quite literally will can get implemented into your CRM system or something to that effect where it responds automatically to potential leads that are either SMSing or emailing you with particular questions, and it's already got a pre-prompt of what your typical answer would be, and it takes that off your workplate.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever tried to like just stress test like create your own persona and just sort of test it out to see how they would answer, the way that you would answer and how accurate that is?
Yeah, I have. I've leveraged ChatGPT specifically and created the Joe Carter persona. And, it wasn't perfect the first time, but the really cool thing about it is it will continue to learn as you provide it feedback. So, th continued refinements of, I would phrase this way instead of that, or change this term to that term, or here's my sales script. Update your information, and it will continue to kind of learn on itself. And after a few iterations, it kind of sounds like me if it's not me actually talking, right? If it's just a text message or an email. I mean, you do have to be kind of somewhat careful because there are certainly things that are very obvious AI generated. So you don't want to be inhuman, right?
Yeah.
You got to make sure that it does not cross that level of a boundary, but it's substantially better than what was a couple of years ago. And with very little to minimal effort at the front end, you get it all back on the back end.
Oh man, one of these days, maybe we'll get to a point where we can send our own AI to work, right? For us, right?
That's, I think that is the goal out there. I hear Trump's passing some bills or something that's going to allow pretty much open free will for anything AI world. There's going to be like no state level restrictions. Don't know if that's going to pass or not. I just recently heard that on the news, but AI is here. It's here to stay, from my understanding, and so we can either fight against it or we can lean into it and have it be something that helps us both professionally as well as even personally too.
Yeah. Now, your expertise is franchise. What type of businesses should be franchised? What sh type of business shouldn't be franchised?
Fantastic question. So, truthfully, there's not a type of a system or business that can't be franchised. It's whether or not it is at the degree it needs to be currently to become franchised. If you're going to be a franchise brand, you need several things. The first and foremost is everything that I just referenced when I was talking about myself in that first company. You've got to be replicatable and it's got to be documented how to replicate you. Because if I was an investor and wanted to buy into your brand, that's one of the first things that I want to understand is how do I do what you do wherever I'm physically located? And if you have to do it, then that's not a brand. That's a celebrity persona. So you have to be able to document everything to the level and the degree that it can be replicated. Now, there are certainly industry trends that are driving specific businesses. Service-driven businesses are probably the largest growth pattern right now, especially mobile-driven ones. So home services, for example, if you step outside of your house and just look at it from like the driveway or the walkway, everything from the roof to the grass and everything in between at some point is going to need to be repaired or replaced, or at least maintenance. So whether that's the roof repair, whether that's windows, whether that's exterior cleaning, landscaping, now you move inside, you got flooring, you got household cleaning, you got cabinetry, you got plumbing, you got pest control services, like anything and everything around your house at some point, it's going to need some level of maintenance. And those are the biggest brands that I see today in terms of growth trajectory that are coming in the future. And they're all mobile driven. Most of them are driven through a van or a truck. So it's substantially less initial investment for any one wanting to get in, and therefore has a much faster ROI as well.
Yeah, for sure. And what type of individual should franchise versus start their own business?
That's a great question. And truthfully, the answer is there's not a one size fits all. Like if you are wanting something that, in my opinion, is a slightly faster way to do it, a franchise brand is certainly something that you should explore because they have done a lot of the stuff that you would have to do if you created it on your own. They've got that documentation, they got training, they traditionally have marketing or sales built in. There's some kind of brand recognition behind it as well. So you get to hit a fast forward on at least the initial stages of creating and scaling a company. But that doesn't mean that it's the only option. Starting your own business, which I've done a couple of times that has nothing to do with franchise, is certainly an effective way to go. If you have experience or expertise that you can lean into and be able to do all those systems, you can probably replicate those things that another franchise brand is going to give you anyway and save yourself the cost. So ultimately, what I tell all my clients is franchising is just one option. It's not the only option, but you should explore all options and then define what those options and which one best fits what you're actually looking for. Your investment level, your geography, your willingness and your kind of lifestyle of how involved you want to be in the business. Do you want to be working in it every single day? Do you want to be slightly hands off where someone's running the day to day and you're just overseeing that person? Or you want to be completely executive owner and only getting quarterly financial statements and payouts? Depending on your answer to all of those things will define whether or not you need a franchise or whether or not you can create your own company from scratch.
Sure. I mean, from your point of view currently, and maybe you don't know the ins and outs, just looking from an outside, which companies in the franchise space are that you can see, appear to be doing very well or following, they have a good formula. What do you look to in terms of here? That's how you should do it. Like what are some examples?
So one of the examples would be I just had a founder on my podcast actually this past week from a company called Ideal Siding. It's a franchise brand out of the Northeast as well as in Canada. They've already scaled to several different states. I think they're right around 100 units currently. And that's only been in the last couple of years that they've been able to go from zero to that number. And what they got right, in my opinion, is they scaled down in order to be able to scale up. Like they broke that entire siding industry. So you stand outside, you look at a house, especially in the Northeast, siding's on virtually every single home, along with some businesses as well. Those things need repair and maintenance at some point, especially during renovations or something to that effect. And so they've systemized it. They got it down to where it is the lowest cost humanly possible. And because the founder came from that world, he also understands the nuance that is required for vendor verification as well as vendor pricing reductions, along with the capability to get qualified labor because of that experience that he has. So he's been able to really provide you with a framework of how to interview someone to understand if they're going to fit the niche that's what you need in order to execute at a high level for your clients, and gotten the pricing down substantially in terms of what you buy versus what you have to sell to the customer. So your margins are substantial. And like his very first franchisee that bought in, which was actually shocking to me, was someone that was a Harvard MBA grad, had plenty of opportunity to go work at a variety of different firms, but chose to go into siding, specifically into this franchise because of the systemization that he was able to create.
Very cool. Okay. Um, Through your business coaching practice, what are some other things that commonly come up? You talk about systems, but come up that, entrepreneurs or founders need to really work on to get to the next level.
I think it's a mindset shift in reality, especially for founders that created their own company. When you create your own company, at least in the beginning, like you are chasing revenue because that's quite literally what you need to survive. But at some point, if all you ever do is chase revenue, you're going to get to a place in which you cannot scale much faster than that because without margin deterioration. So, especially in kind of like your mid to higher tier companies that have already surpassed $2 to $3 million in annual revenue, you have to have systematization in place because whether you want to keep it or eventually one day you're going to sell it, revenue doesn't always equal value. I've had many clients that were at $4 or $5 million a year in annual revenue, but they maybe make 2% in terms of their final margin. And I've had $1.5 million companies that are at 45%. The $1.5 million company makes more at the end of the day than the other one. And they're in virtually the exact same business with virtually the exact same customer. What is one doing that the other one's not? It's traditionally one is weighted down too heavily with overhead. They have too much labor for what their actual sales cycle and life cycle will be for the customer or their client. They're off-siding it to vendors or 1099 contractors on things that they could bring into a W-2 and have one person do the ability of two or three contractors. So the ability to kind of reduce your overhead to something that's still scalable, but not destroying your margins is something that I see a big disconnect with, especially in kind of that $2 to $5 million range type of company. So understanding that revenue isn't always value, especially a buyer, they will pay for transferability. How do you step away from the brand? And the brand is worth just as much today as if you were there. You get there, and then the sky's the limit. You can make choices. You can keep it because it's giving you substantial income, or you can sell it and walk away with a big payday.
Yeah, very cool. I mean, those are very good points. For your podcast, I mean, what was your motivation for starting it?
So really twofold. First and foremost was I wanted to be able to give some of the newer or emerging franchise brands specifically an opportunity to get casted out to a larger audience. So being able to help those new founders that created a brand and just need people to know that they're even available was one of the disconnects that I wanted to do. And truthfully, the biggest reason, which is my why that I get up every single day and do the work that I do, is to help the next generation. Whether that next generation is younger, older, or the same age as me, it's still the next generation of entrepreneurship. Franchise is one opportunity for that. Starting your own business is a different opportunity for that. But I want to be able to provide my experience along with other people that I have on as guest speakers and their experience to be able to close the gaps and navigate potential traps or overcome certain hurdles that maybe we tripped and fell on back in the day because we didn't know any better. But now we know better. And if I can teach you so you don't do it, ultimately you're better as a result.
Very good. Well said. Well, Joe, it was a pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show and sharing your knowledge.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I sincerely appreciate you.